let's talk about one of ChatGPT's most powerful features, Custom GPTs. We touched on this briefly in the first module, showing you how to browse and try existing ones. Now, we're gonna go deeper. We're gonna learn how to actually create our own. What is a custom GPT? Well, think of it like building your own AI assistant. You don't need to code. Just use natural language to describe what you want. Your custom GPT can respond in a specific tone, follow certain rules, focus on a niche or a skill set, and even browse the web, use DALL-E, or read files. Of course, if you enable those tools. Here is what people are building. For example, there is a scriptwriter GPT that helps brainstorm scenes and dialogue. There's a travel planner that finds hidden gem destinations, a sales email assistant that knows your offer and your brand voice, a language tutor that quizzes you based on your level, a study coach that helps you prep for exams, or even a GPT trained to sound exactly like your brand or boss. If you got a repeated task, content style, or workflow, you can probably build a custom GPT to handle it. Creating custom GPTs is available for paid users only. That means GPT 4.0 or higher. Free users can still use many existing ones, but unfortunately, they cannot make them. In this next lesson, we'll actually build one from scratch, step by step. So get ready to build your own personal AI sidekick. Let's actually build a custom GPT from scratch. This one will be designed to help freelancers with client communication, contracts, follow-ups, basically a personalized assistant for managing projects. We're going to walk through the whole process step by step. So let's begin. First things first, we need to head over to the GPT section, which you can find on the left side on the sidebar that says GPTs. You can click on that. And from here, go to the right side of the screen, and on the upper right corner, click on Create. Now you are in this workspace where I'm going to go a little bit back and forth with ChatGPT to really figure out what is this custom GPT that I want to build. So on the left side, it has given me the first prompt, and it says, "Hi, I will help you build new GPT. Can you say something like, make a creative who helps generate visuals for new products, or make a software engineer who helps format my code? What would you like to make?" Now I'm going to put it in my first prompt. So I'm going to say, I want to build a GPT that helps freelancers manage client communication. Okay, hit enter. And now it's working on it a little bit. Okay, great. Now let's pick a name that fits this GPT's purpose. How about Client Comp Pro? That's not a bad suggestion. However, I already have something different in mind. I'm going to say, let's name it Freelance Buddy. Nice choice. We'll create a profile picture for Freelance Buddy. Okay, now it's going to generate an image. Oh, that's very cute. Okay, I think this is great. You can now try out Freelance Buddy in the preview chat to the right. I'm here if you have any tweaks or new ideas. What would you like to do next? Okay, so here we have on the side is the preview chat where we can see more or less how it looks. Now, next, I would like to change this description that is here to something a little bit different. I have prepared something on a Google Doc here, which I'm just going to copy paste it because I kind of predetermined this. I'm going to say, I'd like to change the description to that. Okay, there you go. You see, it immediately changed. All said, description has been updated. Would you like to refine anything else about Freelance Buddy? Okay. And let me go and copy the instructions that I have prepared. Go back to ChatGPT. The instructions are paste and closed. The instructions have been updated to match your guidance. Would you like to test how Freelance Buddy responds now or make further adjustments? Okay. Also, I would like to add a greeting message, which is right here. It says, "Hi, I am Freelance Buddy. I can help you write client emails, set up contracts, or follow up on project timelines. What would you like to do today?" I think that is very nice, and it states exactly what is Freelance Buddy about. So now I'm going to go back to the chat and say, this should be the greeting message. Okay. So from looking at everything seems to be ready to go. everything that I wanted to change, I have done. And other things that here, if you click on configure, this is where you can put in all of the information that you would want. I did choose to do the chat version, which I personally prefer, but there's nothing wrong with doing it this way. So instructions, this is where I would have pasted them in. Same thing with description, the name, and everything else. But besides that, there's also other things that we can look at. For example, conversation starters, right? Over here, you can actually upload files. And this is where you can upload documents like contract templates or onboarding guides for your GPT to reference later. I'm not going to do that right now, but just so you know, this is an option as well. And now let's go down to the capabilities and make sure that we have everything that is toggled on as necessary. We have web search, yes. Canvas, why not? For our image generation, yes. Code, interpreter and data analysis, yeah, why not? And of course, you can adjust these conversation starters, which are these little windows that you see when you first open a custom GPT. I'll keep it as is. I think they're great. But if you want to add something or say take something off, you can do that here. So I'm going to click on create. So for now, I'm going to keep it anyone with a link. So I'm going to hit save and the GPT is finished. Let's start with a test prompt and see how it goes. I need to follow up a client who's late on their invoice. Can you help me write firm but polite email? GPT's working. Okay, I love that. So we have a template for an email. Hope this don't know. Follow up, invoice, invoice number. Good. Invoice date. Okay. It seems firm, but it is polite. So I would say that this was a success. And it's very professional, especially if this is for a freelancer who needs to, of course, come across very professional and polite to their clients. So I think this is a big win. So before we go, here are a few pro tips. You can, of course, go back and edit anything later. That is always an option if you need any adjustments or as you're using it, maybe you have new ideas for it. You can easily go back and edit just about anything about your custom GPT. You can, of course, keep it private or publish it publicly with other users. And all of your GPTs live under Explore and My GPTs. Let me show you. If you go to your left side sidebar and click on GPTs, this is where you will find all of them. So you go to the left side and click on My GPTs. This is a list of everything you've created. And here we have Freelance Buddy that we just made together. And here you go. On the left side, if you click on the drop-down menu on Freelance Buddy or your GPT, hit on Edit, and this is where you can make further adjustments. And there you have it. You just made a full functional assistant using your own instructions. Congratulations. Let's clear something up that trips up a lot of people. The difference between custom instructions and memory. They sound similar, but they work very differently. Here's how to tell them apart and when to use each one. First, let's start with custom instructions. We touched on this back in the intro module. You can set these in the settings. Click on your profile picture, go to settings, personalization, and custom instructions. They're great for setting up your vibe and your preference. For example, like your preferred tone, which can be casual, formal, Gen Z coded, etc. Also, bio basics. So this would be what you do for work and your goals. And finally, response style, whether you want things to be brief or detailed. So custom instructions are static. You write them once and ChatGPT refers to them in every new chat. Now let's talk about memory. Memory is way more dynamic. It's like long-term knowledge ChatGPT collects and uses to give you more personalized help over time. Here's how it works. You naturally mention something like, I'm a UX designer working on a portfolio site. ChatGPT quietly adds that to your memory. In future chats, it might say, here's a layout idea for your portfolio. It remembers your goals, your interests, even your preferred tools. You can always view, edit, and delete anything it stores. And as you can see here, I am in the memory area, and it is toggled on. So it will reference chat history, which is what you've mentioned before, like I said, and reference saved memories. So now I'm going to go back to custom instructions. I'll put in that my nickname's Alex, and I'm going to say I'm a UX designer and want to build a career coaching side hustle. Let's keep it that there. And now I'm going to hit save. And now we have those personalizations saved. Now I'm going to go back to the homepage or the front page, and I'm going to start a new chat, and I'm going to say something like, can you help me plan content for my career coaching blog? Okay, so let's take a look at what it generated. So let's build a strategic content calendar for your career coaching blog that supports growth, engagement, and trust. First, I'll assume you are targeting young professionals and mid-career changers, people seeking job search, interviews, and personal branding advice, possibly freelancers or remote workers. How convenient. And here is your calendar. So do you see how it remembered the context without needing to be reminded? So this is how it works. What you put into your custom instructions is what ChatGPT will know about you, leading for your conversations to be a little bit more productive because you're not going to have to put in 101 things about yourself or your goals, right? Now, who gets access? Memory is being rolled out to all users gradually, but paid plans get better access to editing, full control, and more consistent results. So just a reminder, use custom instructions to set your general tone and intro info, and use memory to build a smarter AI assistant that grows with you over time. Now that you have built your first custom GPT, let's push even further and see how power users automate, code, and integrate ChatGPT into full workflows. But for this lesson, let's focus on writing some prompts, because by now you've probably gotten very comfortable with writing prompts that get you decent results. But when you start asking ChatGPT to think, reason, or plan, the basic prompt structure sometimes just doesn't seem to cut it. So in this lesson, I want to show you two patterns that power users use to get smarter and more reliable responses. These patterns are chain of thought and the REA framework, which stands for reason, expand, and answer. These are subtle tweaks, but they make a huge difference in output quality, especially for research, decision-making, product thinking, or really anything strategic. So now let's make sure we have a fresh GPT-4o chat open, and let's dive in. So first up, let's talk about chain of thought. This is where we ask ChatGPT to break things down step by step before giving us an answer. This one sentence upgrade can completely change how it responds. Let me show you. I have a document prepared here with some prompts, but let's focus on these first two ones. So this is the same prompt, it's just one is default and the other one is enhanced with this kind of pattern. So the prompt says, what are the risks of the EU AI Act for startups? It's not a bad prompt at all, but let me show you what happens when you put these two kinds of prompts side by side. So I'm going to copy that with Command C on my keyboard and then Command V into ChatGPT, and let's run this first. So the answer that ChatGPT will give with this kind of prompt is not bad at all, but it's just a little default. It's a little basic. So we have high compliance cost, time to market delays, regulatory uncertainty. So it's not, as I said, not a bad response at all, but it's just a little bit generic. And here is where the improvement comes with the chain of thought pattern. I'm going to go back to my document and now copy this enhanced version of this prompt. Now the prompt instead says, act as a policy analyst, think step by step, then summarize EU AI Act risks for startups. So as you can see, this prompt has been enhanced with the chain of thought. I'm gonna again copy it and paste it in the chat, and I'll show you the difference that this makes. Let's run that. And here you see the structure has already improved quite a bit. We already have a step-by-step, which we specifically asked for. So first of all, it understands the structure of the EU AI Act, which previous answer didn't quite do. And we have everything broken down in a very beautiful way. Then we have identify compliance requirements, evaluate capacity of startups. So it's really analyzing every single aspect of what I just asked. And now we even have the summary beautifully organized in a table, very easily readable, and of course the final take. So this difference between these two responses is astonishing because it really goes in and breaks down every single thing. The response you got here is actually something an analyst would send, right? So with just a couple of words, you can improve the output that you get. So what we are doing here with this is encouraging ChatGPT to slow down its thinking. So that means fewer gaps, clearer logic as we saw, and more persuasive answers. So maybe this can be great for consultants, analysts, and creators who need depth. Let's go back to my document and I'll show another quick example. I'll copy this. And this prompt as well has been enhanced with the chain of thought pattern. So the prompt says, you're a UX designer. Think step by step through improving a homepage for a personal finance app. Then summarize your recommendations. So again, we are giving it almost a role. So it kind of really fills in those shoes and starts thinking from another perspective, from a professional's perspective. And then the step-by-step part, also very crucial. And of course, the summarizing. So again, let's run this prompt. And again, you will see how the output is much more, and again, you will notice how much more specific and concise these outputs are when you enhance your prompts with the chain of thought pattern. So we have step-by-step define user goals, audit the existing homepage. We have some solid recommendations and suggestions, and again, a beautiful summary at the end. So you can adapt this to your own role or even niche. Just adding things step by step to your prompt can intensely level up your output. Now I'm going to open up a new chat. And now let's talk about the REA framework, which again is reason, expand, and answer. So this prompt pattern is powerful when you want ChatGPT to weigh both sides of something or come to a thoughtful conclusion. Let's go back to my prompt document and let's put in this prompt that has been already formulated in this manner. So I'm going to copy and paste it. The prompt says, use reason, expand, answer to evaluate the pros and cons of AI-generated ads. Let's run this and see how much more beautifully we get the output. So we have 3 pros and 3 cons. Let's take a quick look. So we have the reason, expand, and answer. And all of these sections have been organized in such way with reason, expand, and answer. And then going back to the cons list, we have the reason, expand, and answer. So all of these are organized in this kind of matter, which of course helps us really narrow down the information. And at the end, we have the conclusion, which is exactly what this really shines with. Let me explain how this works. So when we go up to the pros, for example, so the reason, what is the reason? The reason is the why. It tells the model to pause and consider the logic or core issues behind the question, right? Next up, we have the expand section. The expand is the context, right? It tells ChatGPT to elaborate with examples, comparisons, or even counterpoints. And lastly, we have the answer, which is the final step. This is where you get the summary or the recommendation. So this can be especially useful if you're writing a report, you're analyzing something for work, or just trying to avoid surface level answers that you would get if you would skip this part of your prompt. So instead, you would say evaluate the pros and cons of AI-generated ads, and then you would also get a very default answer. But just by adding use reason expand answer, this is what you end up getting, which in my book is way better. Whether remote workers are more productive than in-office workers? This is a very good question and something I'm personally very interested in. So let's see. First pro, we have fewer workplace distractions. Okay, the reason, remote workers often have more control over their environment. I approve. The expand section says at-home employees can minimize interruptions like office chatter, unplanned meetings, or noisy environments. Many report better focus and deeper concentration. And the answer, remote work can significantly boost productivity for tasks requiring sustained focus, especially in well-managed home setups. Okay, so again, this is a very easily digestible output, which can be super useful if you're doing heavy research on something. Not even heavy research, just research in a way where you don't want to weed out the extra information. So to wrap this section up, here's a pro tip. You can combine the REA format with a role. So you would assign a role in the same prompt as using the reason, expand, and answer method. So for example, this is a quick example I put together. It says, act as a hiring manager. Use reason, expand, and answer to weight the value of remote first culture. So what you're doing is not only using the REA, which already organizes the output and makes it very specific, but you're also adding a role, which pretty much guides the ChatGPT in a way where it gives you the output from someone else's perspective, whatever perspective you're looking for. So not only can you add a role, but overall, by separating these steps, you're basically teaching ChatGPT to think before speaking. This can be a very powerful move for complex decisions or maybe risk assessments or really any time nuance matters. Now let's take it a step further. Sometimes you don't just want a written answer. You want structured data that you can reuse. That's where a JSON output comes in. Let me go back to my prompt page and copy this prompt, which says, return your answer in JSON format with keys, pros, cons, and mitigation. So I'm going to Command C that right into ChatGPT with Command V. As you can see, the output isn't in regular text. It is in JSON format, which is JavaScript code pretty much. So now we're going to quickly go through the output that we got. We have pros. AI-generated ads can quickly produce large volumes. Okay. Cons. And as you can see, that's actually also listed out. So we have 5 different cons, and same thing for pros, and also mitigation. Let's look at that. Use human oversight to review and edit AI-generated content before publishing. This is amazing if you're working in Notion or Airtable or just building workflows in Zapier, for example. You can take this raw response and plug it straight into your tool. You won't need to do the copy-paste cleanup because with this, you can just put it in there and it's already going to be formatted correctly. So this kind of method, when you're requesting a JSON format, it can be really great for, as I said, Airtable records, maybe even product feedback databases and automation tools like Zapier or Make or Retool. So to wrap this up, I want to leave you with a mini challenge. Go back to a recent prompt you wrote, maybe for writing, planning, or strategy, and add either think step by step or use the REA format. Compare it to your original responses like we just did in the beginning of this lesson, because what you will see is that you'll see immediately how much more clearly and helpful these outputs become. These aren't just prompt hacks. They are actual ways to make ChatGPT think more like you. More context, more reasoning, and less guesswork. Hope you had fun in this lesson, and I will see you in the next one. All right, so you've already seen how ChatGPT can work with files, like giving you insights from a CSV or generating tables. Now we are going to take that up a notch by diving into something way more powerful, Code Interpreter. This feature isn't just for developers, even though it might seem like it. It is really for anyone who wants to analyze, clean, and visualize data without touching a spreadsheet formula. I'll walk you through a real use case, merging two sales files, fixing the data, and getting presentation-ready charts in seconds. So now, make sure you have a clean GPT-4o chat open, and let's get cracking. So the code interpreter is automatically enabled, and you will know it is active when you see this little plus symbol, which this is how you would upload your files. But you can also drag and drop. So I already have two CSV files prepared. One is Q1 and one is Q2 of sales data. Now I'm just going to highlight both of these and drag and drop into the chat like so. These files have missing values and slightly different structures, which you will see shortly. But this is very common when working with quarterly reports. So now when I have both of my files uploaded, I'm going to start typing my prompt, which is super simple, and I'm going to explain. But first, let me type that out. I'm going to say merge, fill, nulls, pivot, total revenue by month, draw a line, and bar charts. So before I send this out, let's break down this prompt so you know exactly what's going on. So first of all, I'm asking it to merge. So this is going to combine two of these data sets, Q1 and Q2, into one unified table, pretty much. Fill nulls is for if there are any empty cells, so like missing revenue for a product, for example. This is how we tell ChatGPT to fill those with a 0. Because this will prevent month errors later. We don't want blank spaces breaking our totals, right? Next up, we have the pivot total revenue by month, which this means pretty much recognizing the data so that it shows monthly totals instead of row by row transactions. And finally, draw line and bar charts. So it's pretty self-explanatory, just tells ChatGPT to create two types of visualizations. Line charts that will show trends over time, and bar charts to easily compare values. Because as we all know, visuals make data easier to understand. We are turning a spreadsheet, or in this case, two spreadsheets, into a story you can see at a glance. So now you will see it walk through the merge, clean the nulls, and create the pivot, all using Python under the hood. So now I'm just going to hit enter and send it out. So as I said before, it has some missing data and it's not very consistent. But here, if I scroll down, this is the output. So we have two of these beautiful charts that I specified with the line chart, and it has filled in the empty spaces and created a very beautiful chart. For example, we have 2,400 revenue in January of 25. And then we can see some stagnation, growth, fall, serious growth, and then a little bit of a fall. Beautiful. Next up, we have the bar chart, which does make it easier to compare the revenue at a glance without really looking into the numbers as much. And finally, we have the table with the combined information from both of the CSV files that I uploaded. So these are all auto-generated charts that from the information that we put in with no spreadsheets involved, which in my book is quite the win. So if you ever need a dashboard or report graphic, this is a very quick way to get the visuals that actually work. So here's a little pro tip though. You can also ask ChatGPT to customize these visuals. You can do it either by clicking on this little adjustment button and you can change, for example, the colors of your bars, or you can also go into the chat and ask for things like make the bars green. And now it will give us the same bar chart just with green bars. Or you can also ask for label the months Okay, and here we have the months all written out. So you can really go as creative and as detailed as you want. There really aren't any rules. Just ask plainly what it is that you would want to customize about these charts. And now let's export everything. So how can you export these charts? I'm going to go back to the original ones and just click on this download chart button, and it automatically drops it in whatever folder you have set up for your downloads. So let me show you. I'm going to go down, open my download folder. Now let me show you. I'm going to go to my downloads folder, and here are both of these downloaded as PNGs. These outputs can go straight into reports, slides, social posts, whatever you're working on. If you want even more control, you can ask ChatGPT to merge datasets as a cleaned CSV. So if you need a CSV file, you can just ask for it. This is a great method for backups and even sharing. But now let's just take a step back and take a look at what we just did. We did merging inconsistent files, cleaning data, pivoting by time, and visualizing trends. This would usually take a bunch of steps in Excel or Python, but in ChatGPT, it took us minutes. So with Code Interpreter, you literally just used one prompt. This kind of process is amazing for small business reporting, maybe marketing campaign analysis, or even school projects. And the best part is that you do not need to write a line of code. Just give it clear instructions and let it handle the messy stuff. All right, I will see you in the next lesson. Okay, it's time for us to level up. We've been using ChatGPT through its interface so far. But what if you want to plug ChatGPT directly into your own code? This is where OpenAI API comes in. And don't worry, you do not have to be a full stack developer to follow along, even though it might seem like it. Because I will walk you through the simplest working demo using Google Colab, which is a free tool from Google that lets you run Python code directly into the browser. So this is going to be our hello world moment ChatGPT style. Now, first step, we should probably open the Colab site. I have it right here, but you can access it by typing in collab.research.google.com. Next step is going to be opening a new notebook. I'm going to go ahead, click on File, and click on New Notebook in Drive. This opens a new window with a new notebook. You can rename it up here, which I'll rename it Hello World Chat GPT. I think that's quite accurate. And this is where you're going to be putting in your code and running it. So first things first, we need to install the OpenAI library. And we can do that by pasting in a simple code. I have it prepared right here in my document. I'm going to highlight it, Command C and Command V in this line. And this pastes in the simple code that will essentially summon OpenAI. Before I run it, let's just take a quick look. So the code says install OpenAI 0.28. So 0.28 is the version. I'm using this version because it works with the older API syntax. It has less setup and more results. Holding Shift and hitting Enter or Return. So this is going to run the code and connect us to OpenAI. There we go. The connection is successful. If you see an error message under here, you can go back to your code and just make sure you have typed it out all correctly. So now we're connected to OpenAI, but we also need to connect to our own ChatGPT account. So for that, we will need some more code. Here you've probably noticed it says paste your key. This is where you would need to get your own API key from your OpenAI account. I'm going to be pasting in mine, but then deleting it right after this recording because it's very important for you not to share your API keys because they are like passwords. So if you are doing your own recording, make sure you blur it out or delete it right in between the quotes. And also notice that this code includes a prompt, which says, write a haiku about sunrise. So this is what the response should look like. It should respond with an answer. So now to run it again, Shift and Enter. And here we have the response. golden hues awaken, nature sighs, the world ignites, dawn's gentle promise. Beautiful. Love that. So before we move on, let's just kind of digest and dissect this section of code just so we could understand what is what, right? So again, going back to the API key, this is what allows you to connect to your OpenAI account, to your ChatGPT account, so you can actually talk to it. Because remember that ChatGPT, you can only get API keys from any kind of paid subscription. So you cannot get it from a free account. To run this, you're going to need yourself a subscription. Next up, we have the Chat Complete Create section, which this sends a message to ChatGPT using GPT-4. Then we have the messages, which includes the prompt, and the response object contains the full chat reply. But this is just for the sake of example for this lesson, because this will demonstrate something very interesting. I'm going to run it. And as you can see, so the prompt here is, what is the weather like in Paris? And we have the city and state, location, get weather, and all that. So because it's not connected to the back end, it won't actually check the weather. But I think this kind of action actually shows how ChatGPT structures responses for function calling. So this can be super helpful for developers. And another example I would like to show you is how this simple code can send a prompt and get a response from ChatGPT. So again, copied it and I will paste it here. Now again, we have the chat completion create. We have our message, which includes this prompt, write me a short poem about space. So the response should be a poem. So again, I will just shift and enter. And the poem should appear right here. There we go. In the depths where silence blooms among the stars and cosmic plums. Interesting rhymes. But yeah, this is another really great example on how to communicate with ChatGPT through. So again, we have the chat completion create method, which expects the whole conversation context to be passed in a message list. Then it replies with a new message continuing the conversation, which you can then show or use as input for the next turn. And having system messages lets you steer the AI's personality or instructions before the user message, which for us is, you are a helpful assistant. And the structure lets you build multi-turn conversations by adding previous user and assistant messages into the message list. And here is a pro tip for my beginners out there. If you want to keep chatting with the AI in a loop, just append new user messages and AI replies to the messages list before calling chat. Before calling chat completion create again. That way, the AI remembers the full chat history. And this is pretty much it. It's not very complicated. All you need is a couple lines of code and a keyboard. Before we wrap up this lesson, I do want to say again that be very careful with your API keys. Remember to delete them after you use them, or at least store them securely using env files or environment variables if you're working on real apps. And that's it. You have now sent a real API request to GPT-4 using nothing but a few lines of Python. This is how developers bring ChatGPT into their tools, dashboards, automations, and even apps. You can build chatbots, you can generate content, analyze data. Anything you've learned in this course can now live inside your own code. I hope you had a lot of fun and you learned something new, and I'll see you in the next lesson. All right, we have done a lot so far. We have built prompts, we have built custom GPTs, and even played with APIs before. But now I think it is time for us to level up just a little bit more, because we're about to connect 3 tools that not only we already kind of talked about in Module 5, but you already probably use these tools in your everyday, which is Google Forms, ChatGPT, and Slack. And again, we're going to do all of this through Zapier. This kind of automation is something that can save you hours. Because imagine if every time someone fills out your feedback form, it gets summarized by GPT and sent straight to your team's Slack. Does that sound good? That sounds good to me. So no manual copy pasting, no back and forth, just instant clarity. And this kind of automation process is how real teams scale. Because if you're like a solo freelancer, maybe you're running a startup or managing even a big team, automating communication is not only time-saving, but is key to success, in my opinion. And again, the best part about this is that you do not need to know any coding. You just need to do a couple of smart clicks, a GPT prompt, and you're good to go. But without further ado, let's begin and set it up together. So first things first is, before we get Zapier to talk to ChatGPT, we need to fund the API. So I know we talked about API keys before a little bit in Module 5, but this time I want to actually show you exactly how APIs work and how you can get them running. So first things first is you want to head to platform.openai.com. I have it opened right here. And make sure you log in with your ChatGPT Plus account. So you're going to have a subscription with your ChatGPT. Now I am going to go on the right side of the screen and click on this little gear button right here, which is going to lead me into settings. And on the left side, I am clicking on billing. So now from here, we're going to go up here and click on payment methods. And this, as you can see, I already have a credit card uploaded, but how you can add your own payment method is just click on this little button and fill out your information and you're good. So you can also do PayPal, which a lot of people I know prefer. So you have options. And I do want to note that this is separate from your ChatGPT Plus billing. So you won't be billed twice. I do want to note that this is separate from your ChatGPT Plus billing. So in this case, you won't be billed twice. It's just you need some credit for your API keys so you can make those connections. Now I am going to go to the usage button right here and click on that. And this is where you can actually monitor your usage and your credits and how much you have left and all that fun stuff. Also here you can set your hard limit of, I did $5 right here, as you can see, and I've used it once. That was for our Module 5 lesson on connections with Zapier. The cool thing about just adding $5, which is not that much money, is that $5 is more than enough. Each summary is about 100 to 150 tokens, more or less, which is under 1 cent per call. So with $5, you can get very, very far. So now when you have your $5 uploaded, you're going to go to API keys right here on the left side. And here we have a list of previous keys that we've created, but you're going to click on create a new secret key. So I'm going to click on that. You can name it. Let's do Module 9, just so I know what it's for. I'm just going to select default project and click on create secret key. Now I'm going to copy this and we're done. It is copied, and from now, next thing, we're going to paste this into Zapier. Okay, so we're going to head over to Zapier.com. Again, make sure you log into your account. So from here, I'm going to go to the left side of the screen and click on App Connections. And here you have a list of things you've connected to. So we did already connect to ChatGPT in Module 5, but for the sake of the example, I'm just going to do it again. I have taken it off from this list so I can demonstrate to you how it's done. So what I'm going to do is click on Add Connection, and here is where I'm going to search for the app. I'm going to type in ChatGPT. You should find it right here and Add Connection. So this is where we're going to paste in the API key. So Command V, and yes, continue to ChatGPT OpenAI. And there we go. This is how simple it is to connect your Zapier account directly to ChatGPT. So whenever you're going to make a separate Zap, you're not going to have to do it every single time. You already have it connected. You're just going to have to kind of click from the little menu bar later. But this is a cool way to overall connect. So from here, we're going to start creating the automation process. I'm going to click on this big orange button, create and select Zap. And here we go again. You should probably already know how this is going to go if you paid attention in Module 5, Lesson 1. But if not, let me refresh your memory. So first things first, we need the trigger. So let's click on this little window that says trigger. And from here, we're going to select Google Forms again. Now we have a Google Form selected and we need a trigger event, which is going to be new form response. And from here, again, we have to reconnect to our Gmail account. I'm going to do this one and all is good. Okay, now I'm just going to hit continue. And now I'm going to select this customer feedback form. It is exactly the same as we had in Module 5, Lesson 1 about Zapier automations because the whole setup of the form is exactly the same with 3 very simple questions. Feel free to use your previous form, whatever you want, but I'll have this as a new kind of use case situation going on. So I have selected the form that I want, and now I'm just going to test this trigger and see if it will pick up the correct information. Okay, so here, after the test was run, we have a green check mark, all good. And this is where we see that it actually picked up the information. We have the name, which was from the form, product, and the feedback. So now all of this is set up. Now let's continue to the next step. Now the action is going to be, again, ChatGPT. So I'm going to select that. And from the action event is going to be, again, we can do send prompt, or you can also do create chat completion. Both work. I'm just going to stick with send prompt. And from here, as you can see, I have already connected to my ChatGPT and I didn't have to put in the API key separately because we already just did. So all is good. I'm going to hit continue. And so when it comes to the model, for example, you can choose any kind of model that fits your automation. I am going to stick with GPT 3.5 Turbo because it is very reliable in this case, but you can also use GPT 4.0. For the example, I'm going to stick with that. When it comes to the prompt, so I have again made a whole little document. I have 2 prompts here and I'm just going to copy paste this in there. So what does it say? It says, summarize this customer feedback in 3 bullet points and suggest one next step. Include the customer name and the product. And we have everything laid out. So this is very similar to the previous prompt that we used in Module 5. So Command C on my keyboard, going back to Zapier, and Command V. So I'm going to click by name and I'm going to hit the plus button. So this is why it was so important for us after we tested this step, because it actually picked up the answered questions. So from here, we should find them. And here it is. So from Google Forms, name. Same thing is going to go for the product. If the Copilot has not suggested, just keep scrolling on your selected Google form. And the product corresponds with product and feedback, same thing. And now we have this all set up. So we can exit from this little window. And a very interesting thing about temperature I thought I would point out. So this number actually controls creativity. So at where I have it now at 0.7, this is a nice balance. It is creative, but still grounded. So you can go up and down, whatever you find necessary, whatever fits your vibe. So I thought that was interesting to know. But now we're just going to hit continue. And from here, we're just going to test this step. Okay, so the test is done. We have a green check mark again. All is good. And the interesting part is that you can actually see response from ChatGPT right here. So our prompt asks to summarize this in 3 bullet points, include the name and the product, and also give next steps, right? So let's take a look. It says, Ravi Patel is satisfied with the overall performance of the Smart Bike 3000. So both the name of the customer and the name of the product. The gear shifting on the bike feels rough after 2 weeks of use. That's the feedback. And this is the next step. Next step suggests checking and potentially adjusting the gear shifting mechanism on the bike. So everything worked fine. And from here, we could hit publish, or we could add another step. And this is where Slack will come in. So hit the little plus button right here. And from here, choose Slack. So we have the Slack app right here. We need to choose an action event. So click on that. And from here, I'm going to see if I can find send channel message. So in the search bar, send channel message right there. So select that and of course connect to your Slack. I already have it connected. I'm just going to hit continue. And here is where we're going to choose the channel. So this probably makes more sense to do in the customer feedback channel. So I'm going to select that. And here in the messages, we're going to go back to the document, copy this, go back to Zapier and paste it, Command B. And as you can see, there's a little bit of an error, but that's okay because that was a placeholder. So click on that, delete it. And what you're going to do here is that add the ChatGPT response, right? So click on the second step and you want to have this as response because this is what we want to be posted on the channel in Slack, right? So this is the generation that ChatGPT came up with, okay? So we have that and it's gonna start the post with new feedback summary. So now we can also give the bot a name, why not? Feedback bot, say that 5 times fast. And from here, we're all done. Let's just hit continue. Okay, let's test this step and see what happens. Okay, a message was sent to Slack about 0 seconds ago. It looks like it worked, but let's verify it again. I'm going to go onto the Slack page. And as you can see here, it is sent by Zapier. I've already done a test run with this. So let's just give it a little yippee. It worked. Round of applause. All right, so to wrap it up, here's a couple of notes. Again, as I said before, each GPT call here costs less than 1 cent. So with $5, you're going to go very far and do a lot. Also, don't forget to monitor your usage limits on platform.ai.com because you can actually see how much you've spent, how much you have left, and it's very useful to track these things. The cool thing is that with this kind of automation, you can replace Slack, you can replace Gmail, you can use Notion, you can use Trello. Like the parts are all moving and all flexible. The only thing that stays put is ChatGPT, and you can build yourself some really solid automations. You can also switch the form to collect testimonials, report bugs, or even collect interview answers. As I said, the middle step stays the same. So have fun, keep experimenting, keep building, and most importantly, make sure to use this to make your life easier and your work smarter. I'll catch you in the next lesson. Let's kick this lesson off with a real upgrade. Earlier in this course, if you remember, we built a basic custom GPT called Freelance Buddy, which was a helpful little assistant for freelancers managing clients. But now we're going to turn it into a power domain using 2 features. First one is a custom PDF upload, so it can reference your own knowledge. And second one is add with browsing, which lets it pull real-time information from the internet. Putting these 2 features together makes your custom GPT that much more powerful. This lesson is all about taking what's already working and turning it into something you would actually trust with deeper and smarter tasks. So let's start with uploading a document. So why does this matter? Because a custom GPT that understands your exact workflow, legal structure, and terminology is actually 10 times more powerful than one that just guesses. So first, we have to access our GPTs. So first things first, we're going to go here to the side and open this sidebar and click on GPTs. Now from here, we're going to click on My GPT. So this is going to be where you're going to find your custom ones that you have made yourself. And from this list, we'll find our beloved friend, trusting little freelance buddy. We'll make sure to hit this Edit GPT button. Okay, so from here, I'm going to go to Configure section right here and start scrolling a little bit lower. So now when we're here by the knowledge section, I'm going to hit on upload files and it's going to drop me into the folder where I have this sample contract prepared. I'm going to click on that and hit upload. Now the document has been uploaded. So what this does is embed the contract directly into GPT's brain, so to speak. I know it sounds weird, but that's essentially what it is. It doesn't just scan it once. It can actually reference this information in this document in future chats. That means instead of giving you general advice about contracts, it can actually say things like, oh, based on your contract, here is what clause 3 point something says. It's pretty cool, no? And a quick note, I do want to mention that this works with any readable PDF. So it can be anything. It could be, for example, your company internal documentation. It can be product manuals, client onboarding sheets. It could also be brand guidelines and even study guides or technical specs. So, of course, the cleaner the file, the better the results. So think of it as feeding your GPT the playbook it should follow. The possibilities of all kinds of documents are actually endless, so you can really get creative with this. So from here, we have this file uploaded, and now we're going to go down here by the capabilities. So we want to turn on the web search. This is what's going to allow this GPT to actually start searching on the web. I know that I toggled this on in our custom GPT lesson, but I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just kind of showing what you could do, what you can and are free to opt in for. But now, actually pairing up web searches with a PDF uploaded information, this really makes this GPT a powerhouse. And I do want to remind that this web browsing is not the old browse with Bing tool that I've mentioned before, because this is now a core capability built directly into GPT-4. Because with web browsing, your GPT can fetch real-time news. You can get stats from government or even academic sites. You can get current pricing data and many, many more things. I could go on for hours listing everything that it can do, but I think the picture's pretty clear. Now that we have everything done, let's give it a quick little test. Here on the side, I'm just gonna paste in a prompt I have prepared just to test out what it can do with both of these on. So here's the prompt, and I'm just going to send it out. The prompt says, what payment clause does the PDF suggest? Provide one authoritative source. And here is the answer. So first things first, here is the outcome, and you can see that it has pulled up an actual clause from the contract, which is great reference. And also it has pulled up a source from the internet, which is from Freelancers Union Contract Guide. And it's a clickable link. I can click on it and see where it's getting its information, verify it. And this combining the actual clause from the PDF I uploaded plus some information from the online web world, this is an amazing way to get your custom GPT to be a real beast. So overall, this kind of conversation makes me feel like it's an actual consultant, and it's just not guessing things from thin air or guessing its sources. So that's pretty cool. So now I'm just going to hit create and click save. And now we have our custom GPT freelance buddy updated and upgraded to the max. So now when we have our freelance buddy all powered up, let's take a second to pause, because what we just did is a massive shift in how we interact with AI tools. Because we're no longer just prompting, we are curating our GPT's knowledge and expanding its reach to the max. It's like pretty much building your own expert assistant that understands your exact workflow, your lingo, and your goals. And here are a couple of ideas from my side from how different industries might use this kind of upgrade to their custom GPT. So for example, we have maybe coaches and educators. They could upload their lesson plans and the guides. Also, small business owners could benefit from this by uploading policies or contract templates. Also, don't forget about designers, because designers could upload brand books and client briefs. Also, HR teams with employee handbooks. So the possibilities here are actually endless, and the best part is that you are in control of the content. And also, by the way, you're not just limited to one single file. I forgot to mention that. You can upload several, and it really is up to the platform's file limit. And it just depends on how many you're able to upload because of the sizes of the documents. But your GPT will use all of them together in context. So do remember that. And overall, that this pretty much means that your GPT can speak from multiple guides all at once. So if you have many documents, it can do pricing, delivery timelines, legal notes, all baked in all in one. And that's how you can supercharge your GPT. It's pretty much one toggle, one upload, and you end up getting a giant upgrade. Now your assistant is no longer generic. It is informed, it is accurate, and tailored completely to you. In your capstone project later in this course, feel free to try this. You can upload something real, or even if it's a cleaned up sample, and you will see how much better your GPT performs. And to end this lesson, I would like to tell you that this is exactly what separates power users from casual users. And now you are in the first category. I hope you have fun with this, and I'll see you later.